Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Today's guest has been a real estate agent for just short of 3 years and has had great success. She's been recently recognized by the JAX Real Producers for her production in 2024. She has over a decade of social media management experience. She provides personalized service backed with an open communication with expert guidance through the buying and selling process. Let's welcome Sara Gentry to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Glad you could come on today.
Me too.
I appreciate you coming down on this Friday. I'm really curious. I want to dig into, because every event that you guys go to, it's social media, social media, social media. So I really want to get your insight, actually coming from, helping people do it, to actually how you're, helping the 904 Home Guide team, to what you're doing, personally. Because I think my personal opinion on it is that all these agents hear these trainings, or being told by speakers or whatever, hey, you got to get into social media, but there's a disconnect from the training to putting the rubber to the road.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I think social media is a huge part of all of our businesses, and it's kind of where it's going marketing wise, and it's free marketing. I mean, we could spend money to be in magazines and newspapers and whatnot, but in reality, the amount of people that look at that.
Well, in one day, that's the way it was.
Yeah.
25 years ago,
100%.
that's the way you did it.
But we got to evolve.
Yeah.
Same as AI. Everyone is crazy about AI right now. I'm like, embrace it, use it, because that's where we're going.
Yeah.
You got to utilize it. I think it's awesome. I started with social media, and I just loved it. I mean, I thought it was really cool that you can put out whatever you wanted, and watching the views and watching what people are interested in and using the analytics to see what was tracking better. I was really into it. And then once I got into real estate, it was because I was doing social media for other realtors and brokerages and whatnot, and watching how their content grew, and then seeing them get actual bookings from people, or booking buyer consults and wanting them to sell their home and getting those messages flood in. I was like, we're doing something right.
Right.
So it's just an easy way to get the word out. And it's also a way for people to get to know you. That I think that's a huge part, is just being genuine and understanding your personality. And they want to work with you because they see you on your stories talking, and they're like, this person's cool. They know what they're talking about. So.
Well, the instantaneousness of our world, right? Everybody wants something like an hour ago. And back, if you think about the print, I mean, how long did it take you to, 25 years ago, whether it was a billboard or a magazine or wherever, you might have had an ad, and it took so many days, if not weeks, before the audience would see it, and things have changed.
100%.
Yeah. Now we can, instantaneous, within a few minutes, boom, have the stuff up there, and our friends and family and influence seeing it. So I want to, so I don't forget, because I generally get deep into conversation and forget. Remy Graphics makes these great mugs for me. Everyone sees them every show. You've got a nice hot pink one in your bag there. The show logo on the other side. RemyGraphics.com. They're local here in Jacksonville. They will make one-offs for you. So I always tell people, because I think the greatest thing, if you're going to do closing gifts, or really anything, you put their name on it, they never throw it away.
100%.
They never throw it away. And so putting John and Sally Welcome to Jacksonville, or whatever, as a closing gift, I think is a treasure, and they'll throw out another mug before they'll throw out the one with their name on it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They'll wear it out, if those ever wear out. I don't know.
They don't.
Yeah.
They stick, especially when they're etched like that. And I think I like how you said that too. You got to put their name on it. You can't just slap your logo and expect them to keep it.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah,
to be honest.
They may keep it for a little while, but after it goes in the back. I mean, I don't know how. I keep telling my wife, don't even open new ones. As we go around, like we were at the RE Bar Camp or whatever, they're handing out stuff like that or whatever. I'm like, don't even open the new ones. Just like, maybe we can give those to somebody else. Yeah. Because we got so many already.
I know.
Yeah.
I have a cup cabinet too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But their name, it's on their desk, right?
Yeah.
Maybe put their company's name. But anyway, but she does other laser engraved gifts, which is great. The mug is the one, obviously, we just used to give out here at the show. But there's a whole magazine full of laser engraved gifts that you can get.
I'm excited.
Yeah, 100%. I always like to get started easy one, because it's not on your LinkedIn.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I'm from Chino Hills, California, so Southern California. Yep, I moved here in 2014.
Okay.
Just because I needed a change. I wasn't, I was kind of stagnant.
You weren't married yet?
Mm-mm.
just.
I got out of a longer relationship at that age, 3 years, and moved out. And I was like, I just want to go.
So you graduated high school out there.
Yeah, I graduated high school in Chino Hills, and I got a full ride to UC Santa Barbara.
Okay.
For water polo. So I played water polo since I was 6 years old.
Oh, wow. That's a tough sport.
Yeah, it was my sport. So I got a full ride. I was on the Olympic development team. I mean, it was everything to me.
Wow. So. That is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people, my claim to fame in water polo is the intramurals at the Citadel. We played inner tube water polo because I couldn't
a lot easier.
treading water like those swimmers do, and then obviously they go on a sprint or whatever down. And they're not kicking off the wall.
Nope,
you can't do that.
It's like a 12-foot pool.
Yeah,
you just kick off people.
That is amazing. That is so. What'd you study there at that time? What were you thinking as far as a career when your athleticism was no longer going to, there's no professional water polo. Yeah. So eventually that comes to
there was Olympics. That was
the Olympics
where I was headed to. But other than that was it. To be honest, I majored in general communications because that's what all athletes did. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was there for water polo.
Right.
Like, that's why I went to college. I was terrible at college. I didn't like classes. I wasn't absorbing anything. I was practicing 2 hours in the morning, then going to weight room, then going to 3 classes, then going to physical therapy because my shoulder was hurt and I had labrum surgery, and then doing 2 hours more practice and sleep every day. Yeah. So Well, I was like, D's get degrees? Like
20 minutes in the pool, I'm already for a nap. So I don't know how you did 2 hours. I don't think people realize when you really look at any of these, especially high level Division I sports, it's 24/7, 365. They're training, they're going, and one of my friends now his daughter's over at UF. Went to IMG for soccer, now at UF, and she's like, they wrote an article how she's like going to be there. She's going to be so she's a freshman right now. How they're going to build a team around her, right? But it's like when do they go to class? When do you?
I didn't.
Yeah, and then when you're in class, you're mentally
drained.
Yeah, or physically drained.
Yeah, they didn't have those clickers that make you answer questions to make sure you're in attendance. I would send my clickers with people to class because I just wanted to sleep. I was so tired.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Wow, that's incredible. So, but that starts to come to an end. It's 2000. Is this 2014? Or is that
I left UC Santa Barbara after my first year. I was a red shirt because I had that labrum surgery, and I was still practicing and playing, but I was trying to rehab, and it just wasn't getting to where it needed to be. The reason why I had that scholarship.
Was that your throwing arm?
Well, I was ambidextrous in water polo, but my main one was my right shoulder, and this one needed surgery, but this was the main one I got done, and it was a 50-50 chance. I got it done. I have USC, and I wasn't on the positive side of that 50-50. Yeah. So I didn't have my scholarship, and I had the choice. Do I continue to go to this awesome school, which I didn't care about? I wasn't doing good in classes. The school was great. It was on the ocean. Yeah. It was nice. That part was cool. But other than that, my grades weren't good. So I'm taking the spot of someone who genuinely wants to be there and has a passion for it. Right. And me not even know if I can make it through and accumulate student loans. It's I'm out. So, I left after my first year.
So what does Sara do?
Sara started working as a store manager for retail and then an office manager for a EBT scan place for your heart. And I just kind of kept working my way through and somehow just starting positions at all these supervisor positions. Right. No experience. So, and then I ended up
kind of trying to find yourself, which I think 100%. A lot of young people do. I did it for too long. Well, luckily my wife is that much younger than I am. Yeah. And we were big corporate workaholics, and our 20s went by very quickly trying to find. Well, she found herself early. Was successful right from the get-go.
Love that.
But I didn't really get successful until I met her. So
yeah, that's how I was. And then I stayed an extra year in Santa Barbara and moved back down to more Southern California, and got a corporate job because that's what my parents did, and thought that was what I was supposed to do. And then once I got out of the
But wasn't like, hey, I want to get into this field or anything. It was a job opportunity. Okay, that looks good. Looks like the pay is decent. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I did everything. I nannied. I was in accounting. I just tried it all.
Yeah.
Wasn't passionate about it, and then I kind of felt stuck. So I was like, I need to get out of California. Like, let's try something new. So I had a friend in Jacksonville that I came, and I was like, she's like, you can move in for a little bit, and so
figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Came over here.
So you get here. That's when you start your social media.
Yeah.
About that time.
Yeah. So I started doing like marketing for just a bunch of like different small businesses and whatnot, and then it just kept growing from there.
Is that because if I read correctly on there, that was you just kind of your own sole consultative.
Would talk to people and kind of pitch my stuff and do some marketing, but it didn't grow into like an actual job until COVID.
I find that field interesting from the standpoint, and for the audience, we're talking about social media, because you can go to some classes, and I think some colleges are starting to take it on, right, as part of the marketing. Because if you aren't marketing on social media right now, or you're a marketing company that doesn't offer any sort of social media, you're probably not in business right now.
Correct.
Yeah. But the training is really almost like hands-on, and then it's changing all the time. Like Instagram just changed the size of their...
Oh, it makes me so mad.
It drives me nuts because I do the artwork for the show.
Yeah, and now it all looks messed up.
Yeah, now it cuts off the edges because, well, if you're on the desktop, it's still the old way.
Yeah.
On the phone,
longer.
It's longer now. And I was telling my guy who does my artwork for me, I was like, they changed it. He goes, they did. I said, yeah, I just noticed when I went to post. So I Googled it, and then sure enough, it said they were changing it, but they haven't changed it on the desktop.
I know.
It drives you nuts.
I'm surprised you go on Instagram on the desktop. That's impressive.
Well, it's not as, it doesn't function the same way.
No. I think it's way more user-friendly on the phone.
Yes, the phone I think is their focus. The desktop is just another thing. But I'm thinking if you're working in social media and you're taking care of someone's Instagram, why wouldn't you be doing it on your desktop or laptop?
I do it all on my phone. All their linked accounts. Unless I have a third party, like a Hootsuite or something posting, which I try not to use because they take all your information. But I have just a bunch of different accounts on my phone that I toggle through when I was doing it.
I don't know why these guys are brilliant anyway. Why they don't, if they're changing the phone, why doesn't and when I originally started, it allows you to do it now, but you couldn't invite collaborators on the desktop like you could on the phone. You can now. Because that was a big thing. And again, I had to learn that because I didn't have a social media manager to instruct me.
Yeah.
That obviously an important thing when I'm, like when I post your reels is obviously invite you as a collaborator to get more exposure.
I like you can invite more than one collaborator now.
Yeah.
So it's like there's 5 of us in the reel. We could all be on there.
Yeah.
And it just extends your reach. So
yep.
It's pretty
No,
cool
I always put like the brokerage or, if it's real, I'll actually put real brokerage, the whole big deal. All right. So my point was going back to that business of social media marketing and doing that is it's an ongoing learning process. And am I right? It's a lot of personal trial and error. There's no textbook that you pick up and say, here's how Instagram works. Read it and now you'll know everything about it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, to be perfectly honest, TikTok. Because other people are picking up stuff and other social media managers that I follow and whatnot. So a lot what I learn is just upkeeping through following them and seeing what they're doing if I'm not capturing it myself. Everything's changing. The algorithm's always changing. The video editing's always changing. Now we got to put captions on everything because no one wants to play it on loud. There's just so many different things that you have to do.
My logo went out behind you, and that doesn't look good on the reel. I had it sitting there for about an hour.
There you go.
All right. The reels look good. All right. So, because you're in the business, you're following others who are sharing, hey, which they probably would have shared. Hey, Instagram just changed their thing, everybody. Yeah. Because Instagram doesn't exactly announce that.
No, well, they have Instagram creators, and they announce a lot of the changes, but they also announce so much other stuff that they're constantly feeding out. It's kind of hard to sift through what's going on. But the sizes, I didn't notice that until I go and post a client's reel. I'm like, this isn't posting right. And I had to redo all of my sizing and figure out, just play with it. And that was before even Google said, hey, it's this and this pixel. So I'm just like playing with it and just trial and error at that point.
Well, I had Holly Carroll on a couple months ago. She's a former Miss Canada Tourism model, everything. So she's wants everything to be perfect. So I'm posting her reels. So, I actually learned how to which I'm sure this was there, obviously pick the part in the reel where she's smiling, she's not in a bad expression.
Yes.
And then, but the other thing was it was cutting off, like when I was posting it was cutting off the top of her head or whatever. And now they've gotten, I've learned how to, now I go in there and edit the, whatever you call it, the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. And bring her down. So it's more.
But after you post it, you can edit the cover by uploading a new photo, but you won't be able to drag it to change it. So just so
after you post it, you go back in the edit, because there has been times where I have forgotten to do that and hit edit and tried to go back in and I fixed a couple of hers, but she was all over it. But it made me learn. But the other thing too is, and listeners are talking about social media, and this is going to work whether you're in real estate or whatever. The other thing she recommended to me was use AI, use ChatGPT to write your captions.
Yeah, but take out all the emojis.
Take out the emojis.
Please.
Oh, interesting tip.
Why?
I guess you could just tell it, don't use emojis.
You could just tell that it's ChatGPT is the thing. It is very obvious when people are using ChatGPT. I think you should use it as a guide, but customize it to be you. You could say, make this warmer, make sure this is included. But when you have it all bullet pointed and all these emojis, we have property descriptions now that are essays. They're 4 paragraphs long.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that, come on, shorten it. Make it short and sweet. You don't need all these detail just because an AI is going to write it for you.
Well, when you're scrolling through Instagram on your phone, and you probably study or get some statistics somewhere. I'm not often going in and looking at the caption. Now, if I'm on my desktop and I click on it, the caption comes up alongside the thing. So there I may look at it.
Yeah.
Usually I just listen to what the person says. It's someone I know or whatever, type of thing. Or, even if it's not someone I know, it's just whatever they're talking about. I'm just interested in listening. I listen to it. But I don't often go and look at the caption anyway.
I think it depends on the content. And they also have kind of attention grabs where it's like, oh, do you want to know how to do this? In the caption. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, so is the caption more though for, I don't, do people search in Instagram?
Yeah. Instagram would be like a search engine for sure.
You could.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just hashtags that pop up, by the way. People think you can only search off the hashtags, but it's kind of similar to Google SEO where it's the keywords are going to pop up and the same kind of material will pop up from the keywords just from your captioning. Because
I always found that interesting. And people were saying that they were learning how to do something or fix something on TikTok. Now I'll go to YouTube for that because that's a search engine itself, and just hey, how do you do that? And look for someone's video on what they're doing there. But it does blow my mind that between TikTok and Instagram, they have become places for people to search 100%. That stuff.
All my recipes are from Instagram and TikTok. If I'm looking up, try to make carbonara or something, I'm looking through Instagram and TikTok, not even Google at this point.
Are you actually going to hitting the search button and putting in
easy recipes,
how do you make
or
this
family meal or
yeah.
And then I most of the time download the video and then just follow it while I cook. So
yeah. I personally never. It blows my mind. I just felt YouTube was more friendlier platform for that.
Yeah. I think we're already on this app though so much. So we're way more on Instagram and TikTok than we're on YouTube. We all go down that black or that wormhole of just the 60-second videos and then 3 hours pass by.
Exactly.
So we're already on the app anyways. That is just the easiest search engine to go to. Versus YouTube, the only time I'm on there is if I'm watching either a podcast that I like to watch the video on, or if I'm trying to see some type of interviews.
Right.
Honestly, I don't utilize YouTube a lot.
All right. So since we're on this subject and go deeper, let's bring in our real estate friends. Now you've been doing it for a decade.
Real estate?
Be more social media and real estate. Yeah. Bring how it's what you've learned in 10 years. Mm-hmm. And again, it's constantly evolving, but what have you, well, of course they've changed the platforms a little bit too, to force almost a change on how we're doing business. But someone getting started right now, is a novice at this, is hiring a social media manager, an inexpensive and beneficial thing, or what are some of the basics that they need to have, they should be doing, you think, right now as any real estate agent, whether, obviously we have some Instagram gurus. There's some people that are really good at it and they create some great creative videos, but not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
Or they could if they wanted to, but don't have the passion for it.
Yeah.
What would you be talking to agents and just getting them a basic social media, basic Instagram going?
I think the biggest thing, and honestly, Mike's the one that drilled this, is do not be a secret agent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we all have Instagrams. We have them before real estate. So you already have this group of people that are interested in seeing you and what's on your page. And now it's time to feed the fact that you're working and that you're an agent and that you care and this is your passion. So showing up on camera is so huge because people are understanding like what you do every day, what your personality is, and what kind of just what you're passionate about. So I always say steer clear of like the templates of the just sold and this and showing all that. You can post the house up there. Tell a story. Like, how was that process? Tell me about how'd you get that seller? What is something cool that happened during that deal? That's so much more interesting than I sold this for $600K. Okay. Like, cool.
Yeah.
And, like I want to know more and connect us with that.
I had a guest on, Rick Gonzalez. He comes to RE Bar Camp here every year. He lives out in the Panhandle. He's with Real as well.
Okay.
And he gave me the gentleman's name. I have to look it up, but he was recommending go out, and whether it's your listing or not, just do a walk through with your phone on the house.
100%.
And that this guy was killing it on TikTok because, and they're not professionals. This is him walking around with his phone, recording and maybe doing some talking. Maybe he puts his face in it. I think I want to know your opinion about obviously being in the video.
Yeah.
But as a new agent right now, and maybe you don't have any listings, go around to several open houses this weekend and do 3 or 4 walkthrough videos and talk to people about the house in the neighborhood.
Yeah. So when I started, I didn't have anything really going on. And I wanted people to know that I was in the business. I'm like, how do I connect this? So I started going to those beaches caravans. Mm-hmm. And I started going from house to house and getting on video and showing the houses and putting like questions in my stories, like guess the price. Do you like this kind of bathtub? Do you like this tile? And getting them to interact. So one, I boost up in their algorithm, and 2, I'm seeing that people genuinely care and what they like, so I can track it analytics wise. So those weren't my listings. I didn't have buyers I was showing. I was just showing up at these houses, whether that's an open house or going to there's so many brokers opens now. Like you can find one every day, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Or there's listing agents where I'll be like, hey, I'm going to go schedule a showing. I'm going to take some content. Is that cool? 90% of the time, if it's a vacant house, they're fine with it. So that's just how I did it. And then I started getting the traction that way. And a lot of my peers are like interacting and then asking questions, and it just kind of snowballed. And
all right. So the question, I know most agents, and I'm sure you get this all the time when you're talking to agents about social media, getting deals from social media. Mm-hmm. I don't, you may actually have someone that said, hey, I saw you on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I saw you showing that house. And can you show it to me? Obviously but that's a unicorn.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you think is the, when you're talking to these agents, you're doing some training or doing work for them, what is the core purpose of doing the things that we just talked about, like you were doing?
So I think it's to show people that you are in the business and you are doing it. Mm-hmm. Regardless if that's a hard lead from Instagram or someone gets into your DM is like, hey, I want to buy a house. That's happened like twice to me, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. But other than that, it's showing all of my sphere, who I all have on my social media, that I'm in the business, and it keeps me top of mind. Mm-hmm. It's our way of keeping top of mind. So you touch them on Instagram, you touch them on your, the feed, the stories, an email touch, and then I call them.
Right.
I'm always going to be top of mind. If they think of a house, I want to be the person that they think of to call to go see it.
Right.
So that's the main objective, is to just stay on top of mind.
Because I want to say it's Keller Williams. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but there's coaches out there to promote, hey, you need to have so many touches. Mm-hmm. This is just a free way to add to the formal touch, like the email, birthday card, Christmas card, anniversary card, whatever, those type of things that you might be doing, newsletter, right? It would be a touch, and obviously physically calling them as a touch, but backing it up with social media to fill in the gaps.
Well, and I think social media is just a more creative, personal way to do it. I don't read my emails unless it's work. I don't care. Like 90% of the time I'm not reading newsletters. Stuff that comes into the mail, for the most part, I don't read that either unless it's a bill, and I probably won't read that. But it's just a way to show your personality. You're building trust and friendships through social media. I mean, I have friends right now. My best friend lives in Hawaii. I haven't seen her since high school. Wasn't friends with her in high school. We got close through social media. Just her posting on her stories and me, and then we realized we liked each other's personality.
Well, there's no doubt we communicate more today than our parents or our grandparents ever did.
Yeah.
With their, unless they still live in the same town that they grew up in. Staying in touch with just people from a distance, or my college alumni, someone will post something. Hey, does anyone know someone who do mortgages or even a real estate agent? Hey, do anyone know? Hey, ask Trace, because they know I'm in the business. Obviously, see the podcast as well, but because they're regularly seeing me all the time.
Yeah, I started getting, how you have the Facebook groups, and they're like, we're moving to Jacksonville looking for a realtor. All of a sudden, I'm having these random people tag me, people I haven't even worked with before.
Right.
But that's because they see my social media and I'm busy.
Yep.
That's what I do it.
All right. Two things. Let's start with stories.
Okay.
Where do stories play in? What do you recommend? I noticed some agents here, and there's a couple that I know and love, and I do too. They want to get on there and kind of give their, hey, day in the life of a realtor.
Yes.
I'm not totally against it just because I like them and type of thing, but is that really resonating with the audience?
I think when you have 30 slides of you talking in your car while you're driving, it's not so much resonating. It's boring.
Yeah. After 1.5, it starts
I think one slide of you being like, hey, what's up? This is what I'm doing. Cool.
Yeah.
But please put captions on it. Because not all of us are in places like we're at the grocery store, we're at this, we're hooked to our phone. It's hooked to our hand. Like, I don't want to have to play this loud for everyone else to hear. Throw captions so I can read it. I love that you do that for your videos as well.
Well, that's something I learned early. Yeah, you got to put captions on it.
You have to.
Someone told me.
I do. I'm guilty of it too, but our phones aren't on loud.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure no one has a ringtone anymore because we just buzz. So it's like, throw the captions on, but don't flood your stories with it. Stories are something to nurse who are already following you, right? And then I take your grid as your public resume. That's my resume. This is what I'm doing. This is what she likes. This is her business, her family, and her pillars that mean the most to her is on her grid.
Do you coach to do 2 separate pages and a personal page?
I personally don't. I think if you already built your sphere, then just integrate.
There's some people who are like, truly just love posting their family pictures. Like, it would be overwhelming.
Yeah. And also, if they don't feel comfortable, if they have private pages with their kids' faces and they don't want it public, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think it would be great to just integrate all those pages because those are all people that you can touch and already love you, and getting them to follow you on a strictly business page of just business, they're kind of like, okay. Yeah.
Because again, go back to the core purpose. The core purpose is to be in front of your Johnny's friend on the baseball team's mom and dad, right? I mean, that's really what you're doing. So you post a picture of them at the baseball game, or a picture at the game, so they resonate and tag that. And of course, they'll see your other stuff.
Well, and people look you up through social media. I mean, I don't know if you do this, but I'll get on Zillow. These are leads I have never met before. And if I'm kind of iffy about them and I have their name, I'll look them up.
Oh, I do. I'm a stalker, okay, right? Like too. Nobody's business. Yeah. I go on. I mean, trust me, I when I see a loan officer I've never seen before and MLS consumer access and I'm looking like, where's this person been? Who have they ever even done a mortgage before?
Yeah. See, I'm the type of person, I'm literally the person where a lot of my friends who are in the industry will send me names, or I've had license plates, I've had phone numbers, I've had this, and be like, what can you find out about this person? I'm like, give me 5 minutes, I got you. Yeah. So, and that's looking through social media. So
LinkedIn is the first place I go.
Yeah, but the problem is with LinkedIn is you got to have a decoy page because it shows who views your page. So if this person,
no, you can shut that off.
You can.
Yes, I shut mine off.
How do I do that? Like, I could shut off for someone not to see me viewing it. Oh, we're gonna talk after.
Yeah. There is a setting in there because exactly. but and if they're not paying for the premium,
Then
it really doesn't
get,
give
like,
them too
2
much.
free
But you can
ones,
shut it
but-
off to be anonymous. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna talk after.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I made a decoy page just so I can look at people.
Yeah.
So this would be a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then boosting. I don't know if I caught you saying something about. Do you suggest boosting posts? Where does that come into play?
It depends. I've noticed a lot of people on Instagram boosting certain stories. So I was just talking to a new girlfriend. Her name's Christina Swire. She just moved here the other day. And I was like, your boosted story shows up on my page 4 times a day. Literally. Every single time I see her walking through this house, it's a boosted story. But the reach on that, are you just reaching your people following wise? Are you genuinely going outside of that spectrum? And it's hard to try to track that because it's by clicks and it's by views. But what if that's all just my peers that I'm already reaching anyways?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's hard for me to suggest that. I do think boosting YouTube is fantastic. Mike does that with some of his videos, and the traction is great. And it also kind of just builds that rapport of people seeing it like, oh, you got 1,400 views versus like 30.
Right.
So that aspect I understand, but
In other words, doing it for you. Hey, you got a new listing.
yeah,
You're doing a video. And you're showing the customers, hey, I do a video and I'm boosting it, and I've got several thousand. Krista Mashore is big on that.
Love
If you
her.
follow, yeah,
Yeah.
she's she sells that on. Hey, look how many hits I get on my
they're
when
relentless.
she's trying to close a possible listing client.
Her reach in general. I mean, I probably get 5 calls a week from her people.
Mm.
We got this class. Are you coming? I'm like, goodness gracious! Like I haven't been to one in 6 months, but
Well, I've had her
Right.
and Gogo Bethke.
yeah, I love GoGo.
Gogo, yeah, Gogo will blow your email
Oh,
up.
for sure. I've
Yeah.
unsubscribed. Definitely.
Love them both. Love them both. Great women, no doubt. Boost, targeting the on Facebook, for example,
That's better.
like going in a neighborhood. Have you worked with that at all?
Yeah, so I've done kind of strategic ad marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing towards a certain audience, towards a certain county, towards a certain, income range and whatnot. So you can really get into the nitty gritty of that. And
Do you if you start going in there and boosting towards income and stuff, do you get in from a real estate agent? Does that violate anything from that standpoint?
No, because the way that they do it through Facebook, I guess that was like lack of better words, to be honest with me.
Someone would really have to be after you to find that information out.
100%.
Yeah.
The way that their settings, it doesn't really technically say income. I can't even think of it right now, but because I have them all preset, but it's just a certain way where you can kind of see what range of the people, what counties, what certain neighborhoods and areas that you're targeting, that it correlates in that sense.
Do you like to hit it if you're, because we have a lot of PUDs, planned urban developments, a lot of subdivisions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like to, if you have a listing, do you regularly try to hit everybody in that neighborhood with a Facebook?
And the surrounding ones, especially
Yeah.
here in St. John's. So like if I have like a listing in say Shearwater, I'm hitting Rivertown, Silverleaf, they're all out there. Everyone's interested in all of those.
Right.
So, and a lot of people are kind of switching neighborhoods at this point too, kind of seeing different amenities.
Well, there was when the rates were low,
Yeah.
we had a lot of people neighborhood hopping.
Yeah.
Into
still
Nocatee, out of
happening.
Nocatee, the
Yeah.
whole, that's like the popular one.
St. John's is just hot though
Yeah.
in general. So, and same thing, like you have people in Rivertown that love the idea of Nocatee, or people in Nocatee that love the idea of going to that way, because those are 2 separate areas.
Yeah.
Like it may be St.
They
John's,
they
but-
move there and then they hate it and they leave, or they are over there and their friends are over there, so they want to go in
Exactly.
there.
Yeah. And Nocatee made its way into this, just kind of being this cool own little town. I mean, they're all on golf carts and everything looks all pretty and perfect. I'm like, this is Truman Show right here.
I am really concerned about, just slightly off subject here,
Yeah, I love it.
but these electric bikes these kids have. And I was actually pulling into Beacon Lakes the other day, and this kid's riding what I think was it's electric, but back in my day, they were gas-powered mini bikes.
Yeah.
Now
Now
it's
they're quiet.
electric, and now they're just quiet, but they're still going just as fast.
Yeah.
That I am really concerned about somebody. If I think there's actually accidents going on, that we don't see.
Yeah.
I think the media, whether the sheriff's department or whatever, is like they put a hush on it, but I can't believe more golf carts are not being hit
Well, and
in
it's
some of these
scooters,
areas.
too. My
Yeah.
son got an electric scooter for Christmas, and this
Yeah.
thing goes up to 19 miles per hour for
Yeah.
my 8-year-old. I have an app. He can't go over 9. I'm
Oh,
like,
so you track? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. You have the 360 app?
No, it's like the scooter app.
Oh, the scooter
where
has.
I can control the scooter.
Oh,
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's 8 years old. He does not need to be going 19 miles. And he's too scared to ride on the street. So he's on the sidewalk. So I'm thinking like people backing out of their driveways.
I literally came. So my son goes to Beachside. I'm coming out of Beachside to come back over to St. John's Golf. So I'm going under 95 to the other side. There's 3 electric, basically they look like 10-speed bikes, but they're electric. 2 boys on each one. And they are literally weaving in and out of traffic between the cars, go under 95 as if they were a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And come out the other side. They ended up going to the Winn-Dixie, for those people who know the area there on the other side. So they're going a mile, and they're just weaving in and out of traffic. Then they get up on the sidewalk. Then they're back on the road.
Because you're untouchable then. Think about it. Think back. I had a GoPed. I had one of those gas-powered GoPeds, and I was zipping through the neighborhood. You can hear me coming.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to get hurt. Nothing was going to hit me.
Yeah. It's just time. It's just time for them. Okay. All right. So something happens. You were working with real estate agents.
Yeah,
right?
It was Stevie Hahn. Do you know Stevie
Yep,
Hahn?
yep.
Fantastic with social media.
She is, to me,
queen.
She was the one who really, I mean, as far as anyone who has got her career started, because I've had her on the show very early.
Yeah.
As she says clearly on the show, she had people thinking that she was just this super real estate agent when she hadn't even sold her first home yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she did it right. So we had some mutual friends, and I started following her through that. And she posted something looking for help on social media, and I shoot my shot.
Right.
And she was like, "Let's go." So we started working together. This before I was even in real estate, and she honestly showed me the ropes. So we were working for someone at that capacity too, like, because she was at like 19,000 followers, I think, right then. It's a lot of followers. And I've never met someone who works harder, by the way. I mean, this girl woke up at 5 a.m. and did not stop working until 8 p.m. every single day. It was insane and really inspirational to watch.
Well, you know the point in her life when that actually started. She talks about it on the pod. You have to listen to her podcast.
Yeah.
She was, I can't remember what brought her to it, but she was basically hit rock bottom. Yeah. And she was sleeping on a mattress in her brother's apartment. Yeah. And she was staring at the ceiling one night. And that's where it all begins. We
have very similar stories with that.
Yeah.
So, I was homeless in Jacksonville when I moved here for a little bit. So I get that. And I love her grit and the way that she just consistently showed up not caring. And what she posted, and she was the one where that's why I'm so focused on FaceTime. You love her personality on there. You're like, I'm your best friend. We're besties. Like we see each other, and she responds to everyone, or I was responding. She was getting leads every single day, no joke. So much so that like we had like to keep up with an Excel sheet and making sure, hey,
or so let me if I heard you correctly, because I had a question came up. I wanted to write it down before I forgot it. Because you can hire these people that will respond like you. She was using some of that. She was
using me. I was doing that. She responded to most, but some that would slip through.
Right.
I would go in or I'd be like, hey, Stevie, this person wrote, and she'd be like, oh, can you handle that? Blah, blah, blah. So like I'd respond to some of them. And then I was also helping edit her post. I helped her put together her entire Kajabi course, which was incredible. Like she did amazing and got a lot of feedback and interaction with that. So yeah, you can have people respond for you. You can have people like stuff. You can have people comment stuff. I talked to someone the other day that owns a home inspection business here in Jacksonville, and they utilize someone in the Philippines to write comments on all of their peers' pages, like all the people who use them for inspections. There's some disconnect.
Well, Josh Rogers has a group of women that he uses in his I think, or YouTube, whatever. I think Facebook page. Yeah, I think it's actually a Facebook page, who are regularly go on there and regularly interact.
Absolutely.
Because obviously it just creates, the algorithms picking up hey, these people are talking over here. Social is supposed to be social.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be socializing.
Yeah, and it means a lot. Like if, the inspection company's writing on a post, like, oh, that's awesome. Thanks. Like, thanks for thinking so. It's probably some random that's doing it, but I appreciate it. We don't know that. So I think that's good.
If you seriously want to say, hey, I want to, social media is going to be my marketing campaign. This is what I'm going to do. you would probably highly recommend, if you don't have the time to be constantly hire one of these virtual assistants, and they learn how to react like you, if I'm not mistaken, from what I've heard.
It's a learning curve. It depends.
Yeah, up front they got to learn. Yeah, they learn you, but how you would respond and so forth, and try to be as much like you as possible.
Or you can even like come up with a page of responses and say, use one of these. So that way it kind of correlates a little bit better. And I think that's important, especially if you don't have time to do it. I have a friend who owns a brokerage, and he wasn't really doing good on his marketing. And I just sat with him and shot with it straight. I was like, look, you need to do something. And he was like, oh, can I hire you? I'm like, cool, let's do it. He sent me the analytics. This is like our second month in. He sent me the analytics for his page 3 days ago. And he is like plus 167% all across the board. Like, insane.
From what he was before you started working with him.
And he was posting before, but it was just not anything that would interest anyone. So like we completely switched that, and now he's having conversations with agents, because agent attraction is obviously important, and people are interacting with this post, and he's getting more likes, and it's just opening up a whole different branch.
All right. So you start doing some work with Stevie. What gets you to make the jump into real estate?
I saw... God, everyone was so thankful, and seeing her make money while helping people, being able to do that is really cool. I always wanted to feel fulfilling in my work in that way. And it just looks like a lot of fun, to be perfectly honest. I didn't really get to see the hard side of real estate because I saw it through her social media, and we tend to kind of cover that up a little bit. So I jumped in like, this looks fun. It kind of looks easy. Like, I think I could do it. And, you know, Mike found me through Stevie Hahn, Mike Rolwicks, with the 904 Home Guide team. And so he asked me to start working for him. I was doing his marketing. And then I started working on my license kind of secretly and just seeing if I could do it. And then I passed, and I sat down with them and was like, hey.
So at the time, I would imagine Stevie was with Keller Williams.
I think it was Exit or KW then.
I don't know if she was with Exit. But I think
she was with Exit for when I started with her, I'm pretty sure. And
I thought she was at Atlantic Partners before she ended up going over to Real herself.
She was definitely at Exit, but I think she may have been with Keller Williams. I don't know. It was so long ago.
One of the things I always like to talk about on the show, because I think this first step that we're going to talk about, your first step basically in the real estate, I mean, obviously you've already had a taste of, from a marketing standpoint anyway, and seeing what she was doing. So you kind of saw it.
Yeah, I got the gist.
Of what was going on. So it wasn't, completely, blind, like, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a real estate agent. Let me see if I can take the test, and not even had to talk to a real estate agent.
Yeah, no.
You have actually been interacting with several. You chose to go follow Mike for a reason. So as a new agent and getting your business started, what was it? What was Mike's, pitch to you? What was it about Mike that you felt, and obviously you're still with him and your success is, there. What was it about Mike that you think, that you would recommend other agents to look for someone like Mike, if not call Mike directly?
Yeah, he invested into his agents, and he believed in them. He saw the winner in them before they could. I would show up, and even though I was in marketing, I'd be in the office and see how he interacts with his team at the time. And I think there was like 3 people on the team, and he really was like drilling and taking the time, taking 45-minute sessions just to coach them through something. I mean, they had the help. I needed the help. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
I get the gist, but there's so many little intricate things. And he's very chill and laid back about it. And he wasn't really kind of like hardcore, you need to be doing this. If they want it, they'll do it, he says. If they don't want it, they're not going to do it, and they're not a
Or
fit.
if they don't like it, they're not going to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah. If they don't like cold calling, they're not going to cold call, so don't force them to cold call.
And if he'll see the drive, and as much as he could in these interviews with you, he'll see if you want it or what your goals are and why you're doing it, and he'll take a chance on you. But if you're not willing to put in the work, then you're just not cut for the team. So, and we went through that. I mean, he cut 9 people off our team one day. So that was intense.
Well, there's no, because they can definitely be a drag. I mean, it's why I think some great people who probably could be great brokers or team leads don't do it, because it's a drag. It's dragged in 2 different ways. When you're having meetings, and they're not showing up, and you're having a meeting, and you're preparing this information as to share with others, to make others better, and then when someone doesn't show up, no matter if they're a producer or not, it takes something from you. And then when someone leaves the group, it takes something from you, because you accepted them into the group, and you feel, maybe, what did I do? Did I not deliver.
And I'm
right?
sure he goes through that too.
Yeah.
You know, when you invest a lot of time and money into people because you want to help them grow,
Mm-hmm.
and they aren't returning that, then it's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
You know, you can only do that for so long, or else you're in the negative.
Well, you've got to be in it for the long haul. I know, you know, some of the top teams in the area. I've known one particular, basically from the time she got it started, now has its own franchise, and been a powerhouse team for years.
Yeah.
But it took a while of going through before you get that
trial
core
and
group.
error.
Yeah, that core group of people to stick. Because if you're the only one sticking and everyone else is just coming and going, you ain't getting anywhere. You've got to start with the second one, third one, fourth one. When you got 4 or 5 core that have been there now 3, 4, 5 years, then you can start to.
And that's been fun to watch,
snowball.
kind of like just the trial and error and how he navigates through it. So, I mean, like right now, currently, I'm the longest standing person on the team, which is a weird thing to think about. And I've been there for 3 years. So it's been interesting.
Well, Mike hasn't been in real estate that
6,
much long.
I think. Yeah.
No.
I know.
It's been a couple years since I had him on.
Crazy though,
but,
like where he's at and how short a time, you gotta be doing something right.
Yeah.
So, and that was a big part of it too. You know, when I joined it, he was only in for 3 years or so, and I was like, okay, and you're doing this at 3 years,
Right.
and so.
Well, his business savvy, and that's one of the things, you know, I keep. I'm structuring my book right now, but where did people come before real estate? And you know, there's some. I can't put everybody in the book, 200 some odd agents, but some of the pre-careers and how they took the career they had before and a lot of the skills they learned there and put it into real estate, and it's become something.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, owning a recruiting company for him, I mean, that definitely correlates into his real estate business.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So your first year, you got Mike there. You're going to follow him.
Yep.
What challenges did you have? Or even just just some of the things that you've worked through for yourself, because I think the question I actually put up here is, what have you learned about yourself? But that could be a lot of different things, and I think you learn more about yourself when you have a setback or a challenge that you have to overcome.
A couple things. One, I did not want to come off incompetent. I'm big on that. So having to ask questions to Mike all the time, and Mike, some questions he'll answer, and some he'll be like, "Who should you be asking?" Oh, I should ask like title company, or I should ask a lender this. He was like, yeah, like I could answer this, but who should you be asking? And I love that he did that, because it forced me to call these people, and I'd always start, I know it's a dumb question, but in reality, there is no, we're just learning. Like, so that was really hard for me to overcome, because it was hard to build confidence when you don't know a lot.
Right.
And confidence is a huge part of this job. And then learning to be like, when I get asked a question, instead of me trying to make up an answer, I'd be like, you know what, I don't know, but I will find out. And that's okay. They don't care. As long as you follow up, hey, as promised, you know, I found out, blah, 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 they're fine with it. I thought I had to know everything, which is not the case.
Right. Well, I mean, have you, a story behind this would be great. Every transaction is different. Yeah. And you have to build off the previous transaction to handle the next obstacle, even though it's nothing like the previous 10. All of a sudden you got this 11th one, and it's like another, negotiate, whatever, there's always a curveball.
I had one this morning in your elevator.
All right, great, go.
Yeah, so I have a home under contract, and they say it was on septic. And then I was told the septics connect to a public sewer. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I Googled it. We all do it. It has to be a pump. All right, where's the pump? No, there is no pump. All right, something's fishy. Like, what's going on here? So we asked a septic company to come out, told them the deal.
It's an older part of town or something?
Yeah, so it's off Bowdoin or Bowden. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, and
I'll pronounce it Bowden.
The septic company was like, oh, we can't touch it because it's connected to public. So you have to get a plumber. So we call the plumber. And the plumber's like, well, from what we see, that's a public city neighborhood. Like that's all on public sewer. So it has to be on public, and there's no septic. I'm like, what is going on here? And we're
so who gave you the initial information that there
Seller's
was
property disclosure? The seller says it's on the septic, and then we call the agent, and the agent says it's.
Did
septic
you link in
the
listing agent yet at this point?
She used to be on the team.
Okay.
So I know her.
All right.
And she's kind of family, like in a way. So it's a lot.
You felt there was some possible credibility to it. Okay.
Yeah. No, she's. It's not her fault at all. To be perfectly honest, it's the seller kind of being secretive. And then we found out that it's on public. So then I called JAA. Like, hey, is this on public? It's on septic. They're like, well, they're not paying sewage. So like, so they're on a septic. So they're not paying sewage. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably about as far as they can answer that.
So we get a septic company to go out today and go look at the septic. And he was one who told us, talk to the seller who was there, and he was present, and he was essentially no help. And he was like, what I think it is that they haven't been paying sewage. And they've just been getting away with it. So they're saying they're on septic, so they're not backdated all their sewage bills. I'm like, what do I do? How do I even handle this? Where do I go? So I was like talking to my buyer. I'm like, well, we're going to have to call JEA. And
well, what's interesting about that is they basically have because they don't know, they're not measuring the sewage coming out. They're measuring the water going in.
And we did a scope, and it's all public.
Yes, no. So, but I mean, they're billing you off of like, hey, you're using this much water, so we're going to guesstimate you're using this much sewage is coming out.
Yeah. Except they're not getting charged sewage.
But they're not getting charged sewage, and because you can have what do we have? We had a different meter put in for. I don't think they even do it anymore. I think they actually stopped. But we had a different meter put in that gave us water because you're watering your lawn, and if you're watering your lawn, it's running up the same water just as you were drinking and going in the toilet.
Yeah.
It was, but it's going on the lawn. It's actually not going into the sewer.
Yeah, so it's hard to measure it.
Yeah, so if you used to be able to buy the meter that had the two different things on it, but I was told they don't allow that anymore. I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, so how did you solve this?
I'm working on it.
You're working on it. This
yeah,
okay, but yeah, this is a great curveball.
Let me call you back.
Yeah.
So essentially, we now know it's on public. We know they're not getting charged for sewage, and then we're gonna have to probably go the route of calling JEA and being like, "Hey, this is the deal," and that may turn into them getting backdated all these sewage bills and maybe losing a deal at this point. But she doesn't want to go into it and all of a sudden get thousands of dollars of bills because she's now the owner of the property. So
it's already. It's under contract.
It's under contract.
It's under contract.
Yeah, we're in the inspection period. I just extended it this morning.
All right. So now you got to get that answer from JEA and try to
And it's going to raise a lot of red flags for the seller. Yeah.
Well, the seller already assumed they were going to pay. I can't believe they're buying the house because they're not paying sewer.
Yeah.
They just assumed they're going to get that bill anyway, like everybody else does.
But why mark you're on septic when you're not? And the seller's property doesn't.
Well, no, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's the seller that has to worry about it because they got to come back. But the question for the JEA is if they owe $10,000, they go back and go, oh my God, yeah, this person moved in back on this date,
2004,
or we put the city sewer in on this date, and they should have been paying it since that date, and this is all their water usage if they still have those records, and then go, hey, you owe $20,000.
Yeah, because that's 21 years of sewage.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Huh?
So now are they going to put a lien on the house?
Exactly. I don't know.
So now the title company's got to get involved because they're going to put insurance on it
and do a municipal lien search and what's going to pop up and
right, because right now there's no lien on it, so they're going to say it's clear, but they're going to put that sewer lien on there later. The insurance company's got to pick it up.
These are things you never think you run into.
Yeah, I mean, it does. Yeah.
And
that's a new one right there, but that's the stuff that comes up.
100%. I mean, there's countless things similar to this that has popped up. I mean, I have a brand new listing in Springfield, and they live out of state. And I showed up the other day with stagers, and there's drywood termite frass everywhere. They tented though. I didn't know that, so I'm thinking, God, it's covered in drywoods. No, it's actually just old stuff that was never cleaned up. But in my head, I'm like, oh, here we go. What are we gonna do? But thank goodness it's all covered.
But this is the life of a real estate agent, and you have to be able to roll with the punches, so to speak. You got to have great leadership, people that you can rely on, because I'm sure the first thing you did was call Mike and go, if you haven't told him yet.
I haven't yet.
yeah, coming here. And, this is a situation, but everybody in the office now, because when I'm pro office, having worked in a call center for, well, I'd say I actually worked mostly from home, but the first 3 years I was in the business was in a call center. But I didn't know anything about mortgages before that. Mm-hmm. So you learn a lot by other people's situations. Yeah. And it's not actually about mortgages and their, although there's guidelines changes and stuff like that. Hey, can you do that type of loan on that? Yeah. Oh, yeah, we can do it. You learn that stuff, but the situations because our clients are all different. The houses are all different.
The situations are all different.
Everything's coming at you. So we have multiple things working in trying to put somebody in a new home.
No, I definitely lean on Mike a lot. I go to the office, a couple times a week, to be perfectly honest. I do enjoy working in my home office because there's a lot of people that come in and out because all the real people are able to use our office. So they a lot of voices and I need to concentrate. But I enjoy going in there because I enjoy hearing him negotiating on the phone. I enjoy him cold calling and hearing those conversations because I learn from listening. So when I started, he was taking me on his listening appointments. He was taking me on showings. He was letting me listen in on phone calls and talking from, his buyers that are in like the 2 million to the buyers that are in like the 250. There are different conversations and different ways of not treating them, but like information that has to be given. So I learned a lot by just sitting in and listening.
And it's not as simple as, hey, these are people who are looking at $2 million, $3 million houses. These are looking at $200,000 or $300,000 house. Yeah, there is a different way you might approach them differently. A first-time home buyer versus obviously someone, type of thing. But their own personal, their lives are different economically, but they're also just different people. And personalities that you have to work with.
That's what I meant, like seeing him handheld more and just working on those concessions for him and trying to lower that down payment, like that nitty gritty for this. And then there's the ones here where it's like, okay, but the boat is this deep and is it going to fit and how much water frontage and, when's the last time that they drained this?
What's important to them?
Yeah. So it's just a whole different avenue. So I'm lucky that I'm able to see just the broad spectrum of all the different types of deals, whether that's an investor, a first-time home buyer, or someone who it's like their sixth home and where they're buying. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You mentioned grit earlier with, we were talking about Stevie.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read Grit, the book.
No.
There's actually a book by Angela Duckworth.
Okay.
Yes, really good. You should pick it up or audio it. Either way, I audioed it. I actually bought it too. Someone stole it from me. I got to get it back. But it actually gave me a presence because of all the agents that I've had on. I think that one of the underlying things for a majority of them, it takes a lot of grit to do this business because you are out on your own.
Yeah.
You try to team up with other people to give you support, but ultimately you're the one that's got to get, Mike's not knocking on your door going, hey, you didn't show up at 9:00 this morning. You need to, come in and counsel you. That's totally on you. You're self-employed. You're 1099. You're running your business.
Yeah.
But I broke it down. To me, you have to have, I call it your LLC. You have to love what you do. I believe there's a laughter, and I'm going to explain the laughter in a moment. And then you have to be consistent.
Yep.
That's your LLC. To me, the people have to be that have grit.
Yeah.
People. So the first part's going to be easy. You're going to be able to tell me why you love real estate, and we'll get that nice reel for you. But the laughter part is kind of what we're talking about. Like you just were thrown this, but you're on your way here or whatever. You're preparing to come here and do the podcast. And now you get thrown this like super curveball, which you have a lot of places you're going to call after this and try to find out can we even save this deal?
Yeah.
Or is the seller going to back out because they're afraid to get a $20,000 bill, right? Or hopefully they've got a lot of equity and they're like, well, screw it. If they put a thing on it, we'll have to pay it and whatever, whatever that situation is. But my concern is the title company putting insurance on it.
Yep.
Knowing what you know.
There's so many.
Yeah. So the laughter part is and you were saying you had a similar situation to Stevie, or you kind of hit a rock bottom, and you telling me a little bit early. But we get thrown curveballs, and as you go on in life, we're hit with similar size curveballs. But now we almost laugh them off.
Yeah. Because
you've been hit so many times in that part. So, and then we'll ask about consisting. But tell us why. What is it about real estate you love?
Obviously, the reactions of people and seeing how happy they are and starting the chapters and being trusted enough. Like, this is one of the biggest financial decisions of your entire life.
Most people, yeah.
Yeah, most people. And you're giving me the trust to guide you through that process. Like, that means a lot to me. And I've worked really, really hard to gain that trust and be a good advocate for you in that sense. So that means the world. So from that side, I love helping people, and I love all the people that I get to meet and build relationships. I throw events all year long, and I invite all these people to my house. I mean, they're coming over. We're hanging out. We're going to dinners. Like, I love it. And then on the other side of it is the sky's the limit. there's no cap on how much I could possibly sell or who I can meet or what I could do. I mean, it is how bad I want it is how good I will do.
No, the time in the day is really right.
How awesome is
how
that?
bad you want it, the time in the day, and
Or I could
what
sit in
other
an
things you
office
got to
and be
do.
like, oh, my review's coming up. Hopefully, I get a 3% increase. Like,
Right.
no,
Right.
I can 1 year make 30,000 or whatever, or sell 10 homes, and the next year I can sit there
Make
and
300,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool, and it's up to me. It's not up to my boss or my supervisor or my review. Like, it is up to me to do that.
How much do you look, because you're in the social media part of you, so you have a creativity part about you, and the fact that you, although it can get you in trouble and cost you money, the fact that you can be as creative as you want to, and like acquiring these clients and so forth. Your freedom versus having to work through a corporate.
Yeah.
This is the way we're marketing, and this is how even if they're giving you leads, this is how we're doing it. And you're like, I don't like doing
Yeah,
that.
I don't like it.
How much is that creativity part to it? Because that's how you have that in you, because you've been doing social media marketing, so you've had to be creative.
Yeah. No, I definitely, honestly, I've kind of switched it lately in the last couple of years, and I touched on it a little bit a second ago. Events. I'm making creative events. I do these massive Halloween parties. I have a Galentine's Day coming up. I do the vision board parties. I get to be creative in that aspect, and people don't just come to my house to hang out. Like, there's something that they get out of it also. So being able to turn something into that aspect where it's like, I'm giving you something and I also get to build this relationship in the same sense. Like, that's how I've turned it creatively wise. Social media, I mean, I essentially, to be honest, I do mostly what a lot of the other agents do. I sit there, I get on, and I be present, and I show my face, and I interact with them. I mean, that's what they should be doing, but I feel like a lot of them do. So, but the events is where all the creativity comes into play.
All right. So the laughter part. So you expressed, a similarity to Stevie Hahn, hitting that rock bottom as a young person. You're bouncing around some different jobs. Like you said, you came here to Jacksonville with didn't have a job lined up. You're lucky your friend, gave you a bed to sleep in. So you've been there. I imagine the checkbook didn't have a lot of money in it. $300.
And a trunk full of stuff because I couldn't fill my car with everything.
Right. So.
Yeah, and no job.
Yeah. So now today, you're throwing that curveball this morning, but has there been something since you've been doing real estate, maybe in the last couple of years, something that's really like hit you in the gut, and you really had to step back? Am I doing right? Should I be doing real estate? You just kind of do that checkup, but then look back and saw where you're at versus where you were, and just press through it.
A big thing on looking back, Mike had me read this book called Gap in the Gain, because I'm constantly looking at the next goalpost. We're on the hamster wheel. Oh yeah, we closed 5 deals, but where's our next one?
Yeah.
We freak out.
Do you have any in the pipeline? You closed the last one. What's your next?
Now?
Yeah.
So since reading that book, and it really has changed my perspective, as I'm more looking so in the gain. God, look how far I've come. I mean, I when I started here, I was in a really, really tiny apartment off Merrill Road that was dark, and I never wanted to leave and didn't want anyone to come over. And now I have a home, and my family's doing great, and we're going on vacations. Like, it's crazy, like how much of life that you could be built. So I always look back and be grateful for everything, grateful for every single client and opportunity. But the times that I question myself is I am such an empath. So it's really hard taking emotion out of this business, because when you have someone going through a divorce, or you have like a family that is having a baby soon, and we're just doing offer after offer, and it's just not matching, and they're upset, I'm upset. And it's hard to untie those emotions. So, and that's what I do lean on Mike for, because there's many times where I'm in his office and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I feel terrible.
Sometimes you can't do anything.
That's the problem.
As obviously on the lending side and sometimes we have to just tell ourselves, they put themselves in that position. Yeah. We can try to tell them, here's a possible path out. Yeah. But it's up to them to take it.
And that's so hard.
Yes.
That is so hard, because I just want to make them happy. I'm a people pleaser at heart. I'm very type A, and I like to be in control. That's why I like working for myself in that sense. And the fact when I can't control that situation in that sense, or I can't please them, there's just no good outcome of the situation, and there's a lot of emotions involved. Oh, I'm emotional as heck. Yeah, there's many a nights where I'll be sitting at home and Chad will just be like, you need to go sit alone for a second, decompress, I got this. I'm like, okay, because it's hard. Yeah. It's really, really hard. Yeah. So that's the hardest part, is the emotion.
Keeping the emotions from taking you down.
But I also don't want, I've encountered some agents that have been in the game for a long time, and there's just no emotions. I mean, it's almost robotic at this point. I don't want to turn into that either. I care, and I want you to know that I care. So I think there's just finding that line and boundary that I'm going to be in, and I'm still navigating that.
Sneeze came up on me. Sorry. Thank you. Consistency. What are you doing today? And maybe it's evolved over the last 34 months. Basically, you've been in the business. Yeah. What are you doing consistently today in your business that you think, something, hey, I've got to do it. Well, I don't know if it's daily, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, or stuff that you're doing that you feel I got to do this because I know it's going to bear fruit tomorrow, 3 months from now. This is what we're doing. Yeah.
So definitely my touch points, whether that's social media, calls, drop-bys, anniversary cards, all that. Like I will do that no matter what. And there's been times
you schedule time to take
time block that. And then I have a system set up. So like I'll have a file folder of all like 12 months. And I just immediately put their cards in. So I know that month to take the cards out and then handwrite them and send them out. So it's just easier for me to remember. That's a big part. And there's also some times where I have no business going on and I'm really freaked out and I just want to crawl in a hole and not do anything. Well, then you're not going to drum up business 3 months from now. Yeah. You have to do it or else it's not going to come. So learning to continue to do touch points, continue to show up on social and be present. So even if I'm not doing business, we mentioned earlier, like I'm at broker caravans or I'm at open houses or I'm doing something, taking films and being out there doing stuff. So those are all really important. And then I don't stop learning. There's so much to learn, from the change of contracts to different negotiation tactics to, real estate now, I'm sure I've only been in 3 years, but I guarantee you 10 years ago was way different than how it is now. So I think when you stop learning and stop evolving, then you're not going to be able to push forward and continue to get all those deals because there's going to be someone that is way more knowledgeable about the current market and the current way to do things versus something 10, 20 years ago.
You just gave me a thought about the learning, and we were talking about the situation rise to you this morning. Yeah. And hopefully we'll have a good...
I'll recap you later.
Yeah. But that is a great thing to document. We talk about social media. Document on your YouTube. And then when I put this, because I feel YouTube's like a library. Yeah. If you're searching something in particular, or maybe a client's looking you up, as I think a lot of them do. I think if we surveyed 10 buyers right now that did not know and weren't referred directly by somebody, or even if they were, they're still going in and they're still going, well, who is this person? Who is Sarah that my friend's referring? Yeah. So to have on your YouTube page, what do they call the different, not channels, but within your YouTube playlist. Yeah. My real estate challenges. Yeah. And to take 2 or 3, 4 minutes and to tell that story and obviously how it resulted and how you overcame it, just to log it.
See, and that's really smart. I actually struggle being on camera. It's the funniest thing. I'm so used to being behind it, filming people, that being in front of it is terrifying. Right. Like
You're not phasing it right now.
I'm sweating bullets under this.
Yeah.
No, and Mike will tell you too, like we do intro videos and we have the Florida man, Lane Pittman, comes and films our intro videos. I literally have to read line by line and him edit it to look seamless because I'm freaked out the entire time.
But I think if when the story concludes and you can come back in and sit down and say, and we turn on the camera and say, hey, tell me what happened with that situation. You would just rattle it off and not even.
That's true. Yeah. This is way more comfortable though. I don't feel like all the pressure's on me.
Well,
it's like having a conversation with a friend.
That's what I think people don't understand is you got to put yourself in that comfortable position when you are doing videos. You don't want to be uncomfortable.
Too, though, also. So.
To make the leap to actually do it is the uncomfortable part. But there's some great agents on, and I can show you after the show. I would love to. Yeah. Where they set themselves up as if they are on a podcast. Okay. But I'll show you why they're clearly not. Yeah. On there, but that's their casual way. And what they do is they put the camera over here, so it's not even like straight on like this. It's over here on the side, and they're answering as if they're talking to somebody.
That's smart. I like that.
Yeah, and because I think that would be such a great one if someone's looking you up and go, wow. She's had all these challenges and overcome. This agent knows what they're talking about. Yeah, they've got some experience, right?
I'm gonna look into that. I like that. I got a lot of stories.
All right, take that one from me.
With nuggets.
Yes. What are you guys talking about right now? And we'll finish up here last couple minutes here. 2025.
Yep.
What has Mike got you guys focused on? What is Real talking about?
Okay.
Things that you guys that agents should be doing in 25.
So right now on the team, we're driving in on market stats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's changing. Everything changes all the time. So the seasonality of, the peak market and spring market and whatnot. Like right now we're drilling. If you are listing right now, it's because you need to list, not because you just want to just try the market.
Move to Nocatee. Not doing that. No,
absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just had a client of mine had to list her home for $35,000 less than what she bought it for.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard pill to swallow,
Yeah.
but she had to list, and we're under contract in 2 days. So like, those are the conversations we're having. We're doing a lot of role playing also with our listing presentations and presenting these market stats. Market Dwellings is such an amazing program.
How many in the office? Because you might have a couple, but I'm sure somewhere in the office you guys got a handful of these listings where people bought in new home construction,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever year or two they're having to sell,
Mm-hmm.
or they want to sell.
Yeah.
I think I'm hoping it's just because they have to, because I can't believe anybody to try to sell in a new construction neighborhood still having homes being built and competing against the builder who's giving all these incentives.
Well, and that's something also to even on the buyer side, like, hey, I'm interested in like Rivertown or whatever. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Are you planning to be here longer than 5 years? Well, no, we need to move in 2 years. Then this is not the neighborhood for you.
Not unless you don't mind possibly throwing some money away.
Yeah, that, you know, and I actually have been on quite a few listing consults lately at the new construction communities having these conversations, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not in a need to sell basis, and they're not. And I'm like, I'll check back in with you. I'll check the inventory, and then we could circle back a couple of years from now. But right now, it's just not, it's not right. So the people that are selling the new construction communities are the ones that need to sell. And having that conversation that they're going to have to list for less than what they bought it for. And it's, she bought it for $635. She's listing for $6. She's not just losing that $35. Like, there's commissions, and there's fees, and there's so much more that goes into it. So those are really hard ones to navigate, which is awesome to like lean on Mike in our conversations and role playing, explaining that. So they have to sell.
But those are the heart-to-heart conversations you have to have, and let alone whatever she put in the house.
Yeah.
Whether she changed the flooring or just whatever, painted, whatever, you're only there for a brief period of time. Yeah, I think more agents need to ask that question up front, and I don't think they're doing it.
Yeah.
That if you're buying a new home construction right now, you really need to think deeply. Unless you're buying the last house in the neighborhood, then you don't really need to have that conversation. But if there's still years to go, you got to have that conversation.
Stuck on that price, Mike said something at one of our listing consults the other day. He said, you need to be at this price point because it's like kind of like right below where we're at, like where the market's at, and that's going to get you the traction.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I understand that yours is $70,000 more than what I'm saying. I can get a line of agents out this door that will list it for that much, but you will, like, I'm pretty confident you'll sit on the market. I hope you don't.
Right.
But you will.
Yeah.
We didn't get
statistically it's out there.
It was 8 months ago. Like,
it's
just.
All right. So that's what Mike's talking about.
Yeah.
What's real from a national standpoint? You guys, I assume you are in on their trainings and chats.
Yeah, so we hone in on technology for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a technology forward brokerage, which I really love. So I went from cloud brokerage to cloud brokerage. I don't have any experience at a brick mortar brokerage, which is interesting. But
although the 904 Home Guide office is really nice.
Right? It's a different office. What's the difference?
It's right out at the beach. Come on, man.
Desk fees, so that's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're just really technology forward, social media forward, and just conversations. They train us on the same conversations that I just spoke about. And the contract class, when we switch contracts, like that was so eye-opening. It's like we have the same destination. It's just a different route. We're going to get there. So they really kind of drill into that, and then just leaning on each other.
Having the little bit of the national perspective, did it get you through, I can't remember if you were at there was the mastermind that Gigi and Mike put on over at Landmark. I'm sure you probably.
That got heated?
Sort of.
We still talk about that one.
Yes. Yeah. But it was because
it's touchy.
there's so much local inbreeding in that conversation that as I talk to guys that like get asked to talk or whatever, and it's like here in the local market, you're not seen as anyone. But if I contacted Tampa and said, hey, I want to come over and talk, they'd be like, oh, you'd be walking like you're a superstar.
Yeah.
And when you get a room like that of local people, they weren't opening their ears to what was being said. And where I imagine Real, when they kind of gave you the national perspective of what was going on, you were able to get a little bit bigger vision and get your arms around it.
Definitely. I think it's also was more collaborative on that sense because we all have the same destination. We all just want to close transactions and continue our business and grow, right? Like that's it. We're all in the game together. But we have to evolve and grow and change, and that either that's law changes or market changes or whatever. And I think some people, again, like I mentioned earlier, are just so stuck in what they've been doing for this many years that they don't want to change.
No, keep going.
I was like, hey.
Everything's on a timer in my room here. The conversation that was going on at that mastermind, it was like, think about it.
We got to change. They're making us.
There are real estate agents who were actually involved in creating. It's not like they were hired some law group out of DC who knows nothing about real estate to create that. Now, obviously, different real estate agents around, do things differently. But it was put through a thought process. Not saying the thought process is finished, because I do believe that will still evolve, especially now with the new Department of Justice when finally they get in there and get their grasp on what stuff that was going on. Because I believe the DOJ was deeply involved in causing a lot of chaos in that area for whatever their ideology is on real estate agents. But there's so many different ways to skin the cat, and I think these people, and thank God we have a lot of citizens that, hey, there's laws, and a lot of our laws are just based on our morality that we do the right thing. We don't, do the good thing. There's always someone that's going to try to, circumvent the system, like they're trying to get something out of it, which I don't know what they would, but in that discussion about the open house, and it's like, well, if you listen to the legal jargon, now it can be interpreted in different ways, 100%. But until you start representing them, you're just representing the seller.
Yeah.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah.
And I think these conversations come up. That's the whole point of the mastermind. We want to sit there and we want to have different opinions and we want to have different outlooks and we want to get help and, hey, this is my pain point. Let's talk about it. But you have to be receiving of that information as well. You don't go into these things to say, here's my pain point, but I don't like your suggestion. That's not what this is for.
Yeah.
Like we just want to talk it out. Like no one's trying to one up you or critique you in a way of a malicious manner. It's like we're just trying to help. What
it did for me, because obviously
haven't been back
being in the position that I am with the podcast, I talk to a lot of different people every week. I'm bringing to different brokerages, but it just exposed to me that there was either people forming their own opinion, or and I'm always big on finding brokers or team leads like Mike who stay out in front of their people. And I think there's a lot, the importance of finding brokers that are going to stay out in front. That's their success. If they're not out in front of their people, adding value, like how are we going to conquer this buyer broker? How are we going to handle this?
100%.
And gumpifying it down, simplifying it down to, to actually how the rubber meets the road. What are we going to say? And how we're, role playing and all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of these people, especially ones that don't come in the office, the 70% that didn't write a deal last year. I mean, I'm sure you've gotten contracts from some of these agents that are like, we're now using the Florida contract and you need to fill this in over here. Yeah.
Yeah. I got a repair, like an RRTA, but it was on the old knee farm. Like we need the far bar. Like let's switch this. Come on.
Yeah. Exactly.
Program.
Like when was the last time that you probably go in and stalk on? I know some agents that do. They go in and stalk and see what kind of productions this person do.
Sometimes it depends. But I've talked to a lot of other mainly listing agents too that are talking like their sole focus is listings. How many contracts they have to write for the buyer's agent. So that's almost scary.
Yeah.
Why aren't you in these classes?
Have you found as a good group of agents have that actually now that you're doing the buyer broker agreement and actually I don't know, did you do any form of it before? No. So this was it. Yeah. You're sitting down and having this conversation. They feel they're actually making more money.
Yeah.
Or a lot of agents do.
I mean, I don't know if I would say more, because I've actually had buyer's agents who turned down an entire deal with me because I wouldn't give them a full certain percentage. So that's crazy to me. I wouldn't do that. I mean, my sole focus is my,
because the
I have a
agreement
bottom
the
line.
agreement you had with the listing agent.
Yeah, so it has to be up. Like you have your listing agent, so it's like, hey, this is what I'm making, and then what we put in our contracts is the buyer's agent will make up to this amount.
Or the seller is willing to give the
Yes.
buyer's agent
Up
this
to.
amount. Right.
So we always put up to. So this is negotiate. Like
Right.
we can negotiate up to this, and it depends on the agent. If this is someone that I have to write their contract for, and I know I'm going to have to handhold through that, you're probably not going to be making at the highest max point because we're going to be doing a lot of the work, and it's going to be a lot of stress on the transaction.
Do you and Mike have kind of the same ideology on this? You know, I'm going to ask this question, and you can tell me if you guys are. There's some agents who, even though the seller may say, I'm going to give X or up to X for the buyer's agent, that they don't like if that buyer's agent calls you and says, hey, is there any buyer compensation? You're like, yeah, it's X. Or you say, make an offer.
We say put it in the offer with a compensation addendum. Absolutely. Because we're looking out for our seller. We're trying to make them as much money as possible. If we're willing to go up to this point and this person only does this point, all right, then it's a good price point. Cool.
Right.
Let's go for it. Like, why lose them that extra amount of money?
And it just,
I don't even call
I think it makes it healthier. You know, there was a study done years ago. It's one of the reasons, like, you know, if we give a pricing exception in mortgages, you know, if the rate's, you know, supposed to be a point, and we already charge them a half a point, we have to give a reason.
Okay.
All right. We have to, and here's the, obviously we could put win the business on every one of those. It's one of these government things that, like, they want the why did you give them a pricing exception? Because I felt that was going to seal the deal.
They're shopping me.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. If they want a lot and I can't actually do it myself, you know, they and it's a crazy request. Uppers in any mortgage company, they're going to ask, well, get me the offer from the other company. Yeah, and that someone else is actually offering you that crazy price. That's because they think someone has money cheaper than somebody else. It's not reality.
Sometimes they'll just be like,
it's whether or not they're going to do it cheaper, and then whether or not their lights are still going to be on. That's what you have to think about, you know, type of thing. It's why some people go to Publix first, Win Dixie, because you know, it's the service, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the nicer decor, whatever it is.
That's a great way to put that, actually.
But we have to put a reason in there for giving that pricing exception, and I think now with the buyer and seller interaction, where, like you're saying, make the offer. So obviously, if you know, let's just use 3 bananas as Patty Ketchum, and the sellers want to give 3 bananas, and the buyer's agent only asked for 2 bananas. Well, the seller just saved himself a banana.
100%.
Yeah, and it makes it healthier that it was the buyer and the seller that actually did this. They just are giving you the permission to go to 3 bananas if you have to close the deal.
Or if they're, you know, offering a purchase price that are lower than what we were expecting, then that, I mean, it's always been negotiable.
Yeah.
Like it's more hard in the print now that we're doing it.
But I think this is where great leadership and obviously savvy agents, some people catch on a lot faster than others in this thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, and understand that this may go back a couple times on it, you know, to it, but it just makes it a healthier thing. It doesn't make it look like it makes it the appearance that the agent is not as much of an influence on it. You're just facilitating the negotiation.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, I'm currently, I put an offer on one of Gigi's listings yesterday, and the only thing we weren't agreeing on.
Well, you asked her for twice the buyer than you normally would, right?
Well, we put that our minimal amount, and sure enough, like, it was us going back and forth. And it's funny because we're all in the same tribe. We all think of it the same way, so we all have the same negotiation. And it was almost funny. And at the end of last night, we were like, all right, like, chop house after this deal's done.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's fun. It really is. Like, and, you know, again, we all have the same goal. It's just getting us there. And we all have certain nets that we have to hit for our sellers and certain things that we need for our buyers. And it's just trying to find that match and fit in the whatever, like, just being able to make it work. Yeah. Fit in the puzzle. All
right. Last question. Let's finish up because we've been going on.
Sorry.
No, it's great. No, it's been a great podcast. 3 things that you feel in your experience, maybe whatever you believe Real's teaching, whatever you believe Mike's teaching, maybe you've picked up from Gigi, whatever. 3 things that you think agents should be doing right now to be successful in 2025 with the current market.
Collaborating.
Collaborating with other agents.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's at your brokerage or not. I mean, my closest people that I talk to, I do an accountability meeting with someone who owns his own brokerage, and people at England Volkers. It's not real. You know, I have people that I sit with at Real where we can talk about our brokerage and the trainings, and I mean, just the culture is just unmatched. I absolutely love it. We're a really heavy tribe. And then so collaborating at just the classes and the masterminds. I've learned so much from other people, not just Mike. You can only learn so much from someone you're with every day also. You know, they have certain boundaries, and then it goes into like, oh, well, they're dealing with this deal and whatnot. We just talk about it. I've learned a lot. So that's number one. Number two is learn how, if you're a new agent, that you have to put money away for taxes and your business.
Yeah.
Because you just get
that's
checks.
one of the top whatever on the list of killing agents is being tax bill comes.
Completely vulnerable in that sense. Yeah. And learning the seasonality of the business. Because for me, when things slowed down, I didn't realize, I was like, oh, I have this many deals. Well, why are they slowing? But I was so used to this, and now I've accumulated bills to match to that. It's trial and error, 100%. Yeah. So being completely transparent and vulnerable, that's been a really weak point of me that I've been navigating, and I'm still navigating to learn to get through. So
because I think that up north, it's a little more direct. Snow and ice, slow down.
Yeah.
Here, we more. If there's a distinct change in the market, was back in May of 22 is when the rates started to go up quickly. That's when all of a sudden, things started to change. 2022 was good, but then 23, and then, and we know in 24 was the slowest year that's supposedly nationally in 30 years or whatever in house sales. That we're more of the financially market driven thing versus the weather, which I'm sure up there it's weather and market, so it's even tougher.
Well, and it's needs too. You have like summer for the school being out, and Christmas is kind of slower because no one wants to move during the holidays. So like that all plays into it as well. Luckily, I started in May of 2022, so I started right when it was like the rates are going high and things were slowing down, because I wonder how I would have adjusted to starting into that crazy market where it was just offers, and then adjusting to that type of slowdown. Like how I would have reacted in that sense. So.
Well, I think it says a lot to you and what you've accomplished. The fact that you had a really good 24, and you did start literally as rates were starting to go up.
Yeah.
And some agents got fortunate. They got in 20 and they got a lot of at-bats, learned a lot of, if there's anything why they might be successful today is because they had a lot of at-bats in 2021. They may not have been very good, but because they had so much experience, now their experience got their momentum going and
100%.
going there, where you really did start from an uphill battle, and that says a lot about you.
Yeah, no, it's funny because Mike tells me that all the time too. He was like, you don't understand, like you started in a market that was not an easy market.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I did pretty good in 2022.
Well, 22 was better than it is right now, I think.
2023, I did even better. I've just been getting better every year. So I was like, I mean, as long as we keep this momentum, and I'm sure it's not, there's going to be years. Right. That's how it is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, so that's two.
That's two. And then I think just learning, get in those classrooms.
Yeah.
Whether that's like the landmark title classes or markets or NIFAR or whatever, get into those classrooms.
Well, there's no doubt that your tribe, the 904 Home Guide, Gigi, and there's a core group of real people. You're all independent. You're all virtual. Independent real estate agents, but you guys are at a lot of different things. You're collaborating. You're creating ones. I think there's a lot to the momentum to that. You have to touch other real estate agents, because otherwise I think a lot of agents get out because they feel like they're on an island.
Well, and it's not fun doing this alone.
Yeah.
It really isn't. I mean, I don't know how far I would have made it if I did, to be perfectly honest. Whether that was being on a team or just like showing up and having these like events or whatever, these learning opportunities with everyone in the room. We all have the same goal. We're all driven, we're all motivated, and we're all open-minded. And that is so empowering to be around. You know, you're only as good as the people that are in the room with you. And I don't want to be the smartest one.
Right.
So I just think it was really important to immerse myself into that situation with a bunch of other agents from all different brokerages and learn all different things. And a brokerage isn't, you know, like a one fit show. Not everyone fits into Real. Not everyone fits to Keller. Like, we all have different matches and certain things that we like. And I think that's really important.
Well, I appreciate you coming on today, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
Anything you'd like to add?
No, that's it.
I appreciate you. All your social media links will be in the show notes for those who want to reach out and talk to Sarah. Obviously, she's on social media. Talk to her about, you know, social media. Maybe, I mean, you're still doing that on the side for a few clients, I think you said?
I cut down. I only have 2 clients now.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I had a full-time job too and cut that. So I'm just straight real estate and a couple of clients, but I'm always happy to sit down and meet people for lunch. I do to this day and talk about marketing.